my experience on race. Now, this goes out to the civil rights or pro-civil rights people, and I'll explain to you why I'm not down for the struggle, as the case may be. You have to understand that there are whites out there who have suffered at the hands of black racism. Our stories are not heard, we are largely disregarded, and we are treated as if we ourselves are racist because we suffered at the hands of racist blacks. Now, while I agree that there are definitely racist whites, there are indeed racist blacks. And there have been attempts by liberals in the colleges and such to claim that blacks can't be racist because blacks have no power. Well, that's an inaccuracy. Let me first go over my list of grievances against black racists. My parents used to live in a mixed community, mostly white, prior to the race riots in D.C. Blacks started moving into the community. Most of them were just average Joes, average families trying to get by. But with them, they brought a percentage of their population that were racist against whites. And what this group did is they started attacking the whites in the community. They sicked dogs on my pregnant mother, forcing her to climb a tree to escape from the dogs. They killed our dog in our yard. They stole our property. They broke things in our yard. They threatened us. They made it such that my dad had to sleep with loaded guns beside the bed, a shotgun to get a large number of people, and a rifle to penetrate doors if necessary. This is the situation they created. Eventually, people abandoned the community. They couldn't even sell their homes anymore because no one wanted to buy. The last couple who couldn't leave, an elderly white couple, the last white couple who couldn't leave that community, was shot in their bed because they couldn't sell their home. No one would buy it because the community had become such a hellhole. Now, that's my first experience with black racism. Now, this is around the time of the race riots of Washington, D.C. Now, the blacks would use phrases like, "we're liberating property," which was their term for stealing. And while the majority of the blacks in the community were not members of this group of black racists, they were also protective of these black racists. They wouldn't work with the police. They wouldn't work with officials to stop this kind of violence. And any insinuation that this was a problem was considered to be racist in of itself. How dare you claim that blacks are targeting you because of race? Sure, they're telling you that they're targeting you because of race. They're specifically saying they're attacking you because of race, but that's racist to point that out. Now, fast forward. My parents are more successful. We live in a nicer rural community. I'm going to public schools, and I'm subjected to 3 months of a year, 3 months of each school year, devoted to civil rights, explaining how me, as a white man, am responsible for all this terrible suffering of blacks. And keep in mind, I just came from a community where we were persecuted and attacked by African Americans because we were white. And I'm subjected to 3 months of this per school year. I was irritated to no end. I still can't stand the near idol worship of Martin Luther King. I understand he did good things. I'm glad he did good things. He had some legitimate points. But I'm sorry, he's not worthy of 3 months worth of idol worship. You know, fine, he has a holiday. Good, that's wonderful. Let's leave it at the holiday and get on with our lives. Alright. Now, fast forward to today. I'm sitting in a playground with my daughter playing at a school. Just me and my daughter. 2 black youths wander by. What do? I hear them talking loudly about one saying, "Hey, there's 2 white people over there. I should go home and get a gun and kill them." I did nothing to these people. I did not provoke them. In fact, I was more than willing to be trying to be nice to them, just in the name of being open-minded and being friendly. But simply because of my skin color, these two youths threatened the lives of my daughter and myself. Needless to say, no, I don't go back to that playground, even though I don't explain to my daughter why I won't. This is the racism that I have experienced firsthand. So when someone turns around and says to me that, oh gosh, there's no such thing as black racism, there's no such thing as reverse racism, when someone goes and tells me that I owe this group something, my parents didn't own slaves, my grandparents didn't own slaves, they came over here during World War I. We didn't own any slaves. My grandparents lived in a ghetto. A white ghetto, yes, but a ghetto nonetheless. You know, they weren't wealthy. But I'm supposed to bow over and kiss ass and hand them things and make sure they have a greater percentage, or their percentage is represented, or that they get special passes to certain things just because we have to have enough of a mixture of races. I'm supposed to be open to the idea of busing my daughter 3 hours away from home each day just so I can have the right mixture of students. This stuff is what I'm supposed to be tolerant of. Now, this is how I feel about race. Blacks and whites are essentially no different. It pisses me off that we have to be discussing this. I personally would rather be racially blind, but thanks to this kind of obsession with race, I'm not. I wish we didn't have to discuss this. I don't want to discuss this. I really would just like people work hard and get off their asses and become successful. Nothing's been handed to me. Contrary to what Barack Obama said, where I perceive that nothing's been handed to me, I know nothing's been handed to me. He may perceive things weren't handed to him. Okay? And unlike the church that he attended and his racist minister, who thinks white people are running the country. Well, I'm sorry. Which part of that is racism? You know, is it racist to be white? Is it racist to be rich? Unless you can demonstrate that these rich white people are actively prohibiting blacks from becoming rich, blacks from becoming wealthy or successful or influential, then you don't have a case. He has not demonstrated any proof that these whites are doing that. Therefore, he has no grounds for the idea that the rich white people run the country. Well, yes, they are. But there's doors open for you to do the same. You can become a rich black person to run the country. You know? There's just as much opportunity for you. In fact, in some cases, you can get black business loans. You have black business colleges. I dare you to have black business college. I dare you to have a white business college or white business loans. I dare you to have a white association for the advancement of white people. I mean, I double dog dare you. It ain't gonna happen because that's racist. It's not racist to have the other thing. You know? To focus in gifts just for one particular racial group, that's not racist because they're downtrodden. You're not down with the struggle. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not down with the struggle. I think they can be just as successful as anybody else can be if they work hard and make an effort and focus their lives on being successful and educating themselves, working hard on their jobs, and taking responsibility for their families, and stop sitting there going, you owe me. You know? Now, they sure said they're going to discuss race. They're going to have a conversation about race. They're going to do it from the pulpit. Now, let me give you a little piece of information. You don't have a conversation of race from a pulpit. You preach to people about race from a pulpit. You do not have a conversation about it from a pulpit. You have a conversation when you come down to the table and you sit aside from somebody and assume them to be equals, not someone you have to educate because they're wrong and you're right. Not something you're going to preach to. That's not a conversation. Now, I admit there are probably whites within their community that are self-hating whites that hate their heritage, that hate their lineage, that blame themselves for the suffering of this other person, that are more than willing to sit there and hand out the handouts and to expand the idea of soft racism, which is blacks can't succeed unless we give them things, unless we lower standards, unless we require that you hire them. They just can't succeed otherwise. I think they can succeed. I think they're just as smart as me or anybody else. Hell, there's probably members within their community that are freaking geniuses. If only their community would sit there and say, look, you can succeed. Stand up, get up, take care of your own life. No one handed me any handouts. I have never asked for handouts. I don't want handouts. It doesn't bother me that someone else is successful. It doesn't bother me when someone else is wealthy. Most people who are wealthy earned it through hard work. And I will not take their money from them just because they're wealthy. And I don't feel that I'm oppressed just because they're wealthy. And last time I know it, I was never hired by a poor person. Okay? Anyways, there's my rant about race. And it's not pleasant, I'm sorry. And you don't want to use nice terms, well, I'm going to use nice terms either. Thank you very much. Have yourself a good day, and God bless you.